Have you ever had the feeling that you are unable to stop your life from spinning out of control and slipping away from you? Do you feel defeated, worn out, uninspired, and stuck? Let me remind you, nevertheless, that no one is going to come to your rescue. You have control over your life. You must act differently if you wish to live a different life than the one you currently lead. Don't be upset about the outcomes of the work you didn't perform. Either the sorrow of regret or the pain of discipline must be experienced by all of us. I always decide not to look back. How about you? Are your priorities and guiding principles clear? Information and views are thrown at us non-stop. You won't know where to go if you just listen to everyone. People don't think critically these days. People argue solely for the fun of arguing when a well-known figure or influencer they don't like says something they genuinely agree with. It doesn't follow that every idea held by someone is incorrect just because you don't like them or agree with their basic principles. It likewise holds true in the other direction. It's possible that someone you genuinely admire and respect has beliefs that differ from your own. How then can we select the information we require? By adhering to key principles. Your values ought to be your filter. You must establish your priorities. When we don't have our priorities straight, we waste time on pointless activities. If you value your relationships and your health, you don't smoke cigarettes to fit in. Because it's evident that your health and wholesome, growth-oriented relationships are top concerns if you don't genuinely enjoy smoking, and if the people in your immediate vicinity would reject and criticize you for who you are. Your ignorance and comfort are your top priority. Saying no to people seems nice, but it's more comfortable to smoke 1 or 2 cigarettes to fit in. Saying no to people and sticking to your convictions requires guts. Since the people in your immediate vicinity only accept you because you're similar to them, it's ignorance. Believe me, I understand how difficult and awkward it may be to turn someone down. I can remember that everyone around me started smoking when I was 14 years old. When someone would offer to let me smoke, I would always say no. I don't see any benefit to smoking and I don't enjoy it. Secondly, it contradicts my moral principles. Even though most of my friends used to smoke, none of them ever criticized me for it. If someone persists on something after I reject it, it's merely a clue that we are not meant to be friends. Think for yourself to decide what you want, what is true, and what you should do to achieve number 1 in light of number 2, advises Ray Dalio in his book, Principles for Life and Work. Do that with humility and open-mindedness so that you consider the best thinking available to you, he adds. According to Ray Dalio's book, Principles for Life and Work, a successful life is the result of combining dreams, reality, and perseverance. Success and progress-oriented people have a profound understanding of the cause and effect links that shape reality and have developed strategies for leveraging those relationships to attain their goals. It is also true that idealists who lack a solid foundation in reality lead to issues rather than advancement. What constitutes a successful life? Since each of us has unique, deep-seated requirements, we must individually define success for ourselves. While some seek to alter the world, others merely wish to coexist peacefully and preserve their own lives. Both are equally good. Each of us must determine what is most important to us and the steps we will take to get there. Think for a moment about your position on the following scale, which represents an overly simplified option. Consider where you want to position yourself on it. There are 5 main steps in the personal evolutionary process. You will most likely succeed if you can accomplish these 5 goals successfully. In summary, they are as follows. 1. Set definite objectives. 2. Recognize the obstacles to your goal achieving and refuse to let them get in the way. 3. Determine the problem's underlying causes with accuracy. 4. Create strategies that will allow you to avoid them. 5. Take the required actions to advance these designs through the outcomes. Knowing my background, you will be aware that my family has experienced financial hardship since I was a teenager, and when we most needed assistance, some members of the family chose to ignore us. When I went to my dad for assistance because I couldn't afford the school lunch charge, my grandfather advised me to let my mom take care of the cooking and housework, all the while giving my other cousins all of their possessions and drowning them in cash. Although they never offered us assistance, My mom's side supported us both materially and emotionally when we were struggling. They saved us from the depths of despair. There are no words to express how grateful I am to them. My brother and I are under constant protection from my parents, who work non-stop. Observing their hardship and tenacity assisted me in molding my own principles. My own experiences have taught me the value of supporting my family. I desired to be their rock and their go-to person for solving issues. Not only did I desire an amazing life for myself, but also for my family and future generations. I want my loved ones to think well of me. They have faith in me, and I hope to earn their confidence. I want to set an example for my future children. In everything that I do in life, I want them to look up to me. My goal is to become the kind of person I would like my children to marry. I don't want to take life too seriously. I want to live a remarkable life and leave a legacy for my future generations. Success is something I'm pursuing not just for myself, but also for my family and future generations. I don't want them to have the same problems that I do. I want kids to have issues in life, but I want them to be good problems. If our objectives and worldviews align, we must rise above mediocrity. It's crucial to keep in mind that your values will shape your habits when it comes to developing new ones. Your guiding ideals and values will determine how you form habits. I classify my habits into 3 broad categories: living, physical, and mental. The first group consists of mental habits. These practices, writing, reading, expressing gratitude, and visualization, help you maintain a clear and focused mind. Right now, I'm trying to create a meditation routine for my YG. Setting aside time each day to read is one strategy to create the habit of reading. You can do this before going to bed, in the morning, or during your lunch break. I like to read before going to bed, by the way. Writing can also be done on a daily, weekly, or monthly basis. This can apply to journaling as well as creative writing projects like screenplays for videos. Spending some time thinking about the things you have to be grateful for is one way to practice gratitude. Each time a negative event occurs in my life, I tell myself that this is the ideal existence I used to dream of just a few years ago. "We did not come this far to break down and lose," is a remark that comes to mind. "I've won now. I'm going to win" is a technique for visualization in which you imagine that your aspirations and ambitions have already come true. This trains your brain to identify and perceive the resources you'll need to realize your dreams with greater ease. By triggering the law of attraction, it helps you attract the people, things, and situations you need to reach your objectives. I've been manifesting spontaneously since I was a child, even before I knew what manifestation was. I can imagine every single detail of my life in the next 10 years, and I can visualize every single one of my goals with precision. Over the last 3 years, I have fulfilled every single goal I set for myself. Thus, habits for the body make up the second group. Exercise, a balanced diet, enough sleep, and perhaps most importantly, not putting too much emphasis on sleep, are practices that keep your body in good health and vigor. My apostle needs to be reminded of this. You should never compromise your quality of sleep for the sake of bettering your life and achieving success in all that you do. Get up at 8 a.m. and make sure you get enough sleep, as opposed to waking up at 6 a.m. and obtaining only 6 hours. Lack of sleep impairs creativity, reduces efficiency, and makes critical thinking harder. Make sleep a priority above all else. It is definitely worthwhile to put in some work into it. Avoid waking up at 5 in the morning merely for the purpose of doing so. You shouldn't be a slave to your routine. Rather, it should nourish you. Here are the top 5 behaviors that are essential for a successful life. 1. Networking and establishing sincere connections. 2. Returning the favor to relatives. 3. Make a plan and establish objectives. 4. Acquire new abilities. 5. Take charge of your time. Your most important resource is time, and we must learn how to make the most of it. Let's discuss the significance of a few behaviors. Asterisk, asterisk. Returning the favor to family. Never forget your roots. Your family molds you, encourages you, and helps you through difficult times. I think it's important to return as much attention and support as I can to their lives. It's more important to spend quality time with them, be there for them when they need me, and show my appreciation for their steadfast faith in me than it is to give them materialistic items. Asterisk, asterisk, gathering new skills. You must change or perish. I always attempt to create a comfort zone outside of my comfort zone, whether it's by learning a new software, language, or just a different way of thinking. It's all about expanding our horizons and taking risks. Time is our most priceless resource. You have plenty of time if you're young. This is something that affluent people frequently tell me. I wanted to be a millionaire when I was 20. Being a millionaire now, I wish I was 20. If you're working hard without an appropriate structure, burnout is unavoidable. Teaching children how to manage their time well from an early age is essential for both spending and gaining time. Every minute of our days and the following indications may point to poor time management on your part right now. You consistently miss deadlines and arrive late for meetings. You regularly lose track of time and become sidetracked. You find it hard to say no, and you frequently give in to new demands without giving them much thought. You struggle to establish priorities and make decisions. If your answer is yes, then we need to work on time management. We all have the same 24 hours, is a classic statement, but I don't think it's true. Yes, we all have 24 hours in a day, but a millionaire can hire someone to handle most of the work, allowing them to focus on their goals, whereas you have to do everything yourself. You will be more free the more money you have. There isn't much time left over for pleasure, personal development, and side projects after deducting the time we spend working, sleeping, and taking care of other necessities of life. According to an American survey, adults may have as little as 5 hours of free time every day. We'll find out in these 5 hours whether or not we succeed. Never bemoan your circumstances. Instead, take initiative. Complaining won't make things better, so take all the action you can to improve your situation. Recognize your current circumstances before beginning. The most important first step in any problem-solving process is figuring out where you are, because the counsel you want to listen to will vary based on where you are. To gain insight into how you're allocating and using your time, consider doing a time audit. Jot down everything you do in a day from getting up to going to bed. Observe and record your time for several days. Keep track of every activity for 2 or 3 days, from beginning to end. It may be difficult and you may be sluggish, but try not to be. Our goal is to make changes in our life. Use a tracking program such as Akaflow to streamline this procedure. Sort activities according to kind to determine which categories require more effort. Use Akaflow's hashtag and label features for categorization. Consider whether the situation as it is now suits you and what you can do to improve it. Which groups of activities demand the most of your time? To what extent is it important? What is your workday routine like? Are you working on superficial duties or serious ones? Are the things you're doing now in line with your values and objectives? Proceed to the following stage after giving things some thought and realizing where you are at in the scenario. Set your priorities instead of making to-do lists. Set 2 high-priority tasks and 1 non-negotiable task each day. When everything is important, nothing else is. Conversely, it is far more difficult to concentrate on our objective when we are faced with every option. Thus, putting certain things first also implies sacrificing others. Ultimately, if you have finished these assignments, then you have succeeded. It's not necessary to finish everything. Consider your core values and apply Eisenhower's choice metrics if you're having trouble determining what should come first. The goal for the day function of Akaflow is also available to you. You will be able to see your priorities in case something comes up during the day. Even when you've established your priorities, you shouldn't just idly spend time on them. Instead, you have to set aside time for each of them because, as much as we may not like it, we must complete the tasks that are necessary for living as an adult, even though we don't particularly love them. A budget, whether daily or weekly, ought to be detailed enough to allow you to determine how many hours you can devote to each work or activity. Let's imagine you allocate 8 hours a day to complete all work-related tasks in an effort to cut down on your excess working hours. Lack of guidance at the beginning of the day can lower your success rates with time management. It's much more probable that you'll complete everything on your to-do list without getting sidetracked or succumbing to procrastination if you plan out your daily chores in advance and assign a certain time for completion. A daily schedule is all about tactics. It keeps you focused on important activities and helps you avoid getting sucked into a never-ending cycle of pointless, superficial duties, like checking your email or messenger every minute. Once your time limit is set, you can assign each work to the most appropriate time of day. For instance, you may like to plan your exercise for later in the day or early in the morning. There are a lot of strategies to help you efficiently organize your day, but the time-blocking approach is one that I really love. With this strategy, every daily task must have its own time slot blocked in your calendar, along with a buffer for breaks and sporadic schedule modifications. With Akiflow, time blocking is simple because the program combines a task list and calendar view to make task planning more efficient. Saying, "I will work for 2 hours on this task," is a better statement than, "I'm going to finish this task in 2 hours." After these 2 hours, provide yourself some feedback. Those who suffer from ADHD in particular find it difficult to estimate how long a task will take, so instead of imposing harsh deadlines, focus on assignments for a predetermined period of time and assess your progress. If you have ADHD or frequently find yourself working on low-priority chores, establish a timer for every job you undertake. Since people with ADHD frequently have trouble telling time, if the work is low priority, give yourself permission to quit halfway through and resume later. The timer will go off. You'll be able to concentrate on things that are really important. If you are working on a less inspiring task when the timer goes off, see what your next assignment is right away. Ignore that timer and do as much as you can, as long as it's not a top priority. Despite being a little out of the ordinary, this motivational piece can assist people, particularly those who use techniques like the Pomodoro technique, in staying focused on productivity rather than getting enslaved to their ways. While some of us find it more difficult to focus and may become distracted more easily, we can always practice and improve. You can have a more productive workday by staying focused and avoiding distractions by using Akiflow's focus mode. Selecting a few tools that can greatly increase the process's practicality is the final phase. Now, let's discuss the to-do list. Although I've already stated that I dislike to-do lists, I'm referring to the conventional to-do list that isn't prioritized. Traditional to-do lists have the drawback of not letting you prioritize tasks. You just write down anything that comes to mind. That shouldn't be an issue if you're skilled at setting priorities, but if you tend to work on tasks whenever you feel like it, you might want to use an application like Akiflow, which allows you to prioritize tasks in its to-do list and uses natural language processing to make lists that are better and more structured. An additional crucial instrument is a planner or calendar. It is essential to assist you in setting up a reasonable time budget and scheduling the completion of each assignment and activity. A digital calendar makes the process of making and modifying your daily schedule much more convenient, much like to-do lists. Select an option that not only allows you to create tasks and events, but also reminds you before each activity. You may view yesterday's completed tasks and pending tasks with Akiflow's calendar, which integrates with numerous apps, including Google Calendar. You can utilize native connectors and IFTTT for well-known platforms, measure your progress, set up recurring time bookings, share the availability of your calendar, and more. Notion is a favorite among developers and founders. It functions best on the web. However, there is a mobile version as well. Mark completed tasks on Akiflow, and Notion will automatically sync them. Finally, and above all, adopt a Kaizen mentality. The term Kaizen, which means good change in Japanese, refers to the ongoing enhancement of all organizational functions at all hierarchical levels. The fundamental idea of Kaizen is straightforward. Even if something appears to be working well at a given time, there's always room for improvement. Every issue ought to be viewed as a chance to implement Kaizen and make improvements. As long as the change is positive, it doesn't matter if it occurs gradually or all at once or how big or tiny it is. According to James Clear's book Atomic Habits, even a 1% improvement can have a huge long-term impact, even though it isn't always apparent. The general idea behind this is that you can improve yourself 37 times over the course of a year if you can improve yourself by 1% per day. Ask yourself, did I get better today, every time you look in the mirror? If the response is affirmative, keep going. If the response is negative, consider your actions and determine what went wrong. See you soon.